Okay, on this note, once again, thank you for joining. I'm Musa Olatunji, and I'm the head of operation for Movement Against Suicide, Depression, and Suicide. So on this note, I would like to welcome Mr. Prince Modest, who is the founder of MATS. He will be the one to tell us much more about what we did last year, the welcome message, and what we did last year, and what you're expected to have this year as well. So Mr. Modest, are you there? Modest, are you there? Modest. Modest, are you there? You can mute your mic.
Yeah, I'm trying to reconnect my. Where are we?
Okay, yeah, you can have the floor. You are to do the welcome message and do the brief about what MAT is, what we did last year, and what we expected to do for this conference. Are you there? Modest.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Modest, Prince Modest Diko. The convener of the Movement Against Depression and Suicide, MATS, and also the convener of the Nigerian Writers Awards. Just as our project coordinator has said, Mr. Musa, he said we had this event last year, which kicked off last year actually. And the aim of this project, which is MATS, it's aimed at creating strategic and effective practices that increases the protection from suicide risks. Because we found out that in recent times we've had a lot of cases, due to suicide, due to depression and the rest, and majority of them are from youths, teenagers. Most of them they fall into depression because of different things like rape, like emotional trauma, like family. And because of this, we said, okay, yes, let's work towards doing something. Let's work towards doing something, which we created the MATS, initiative last year. And last year we had speakers from different parts of the country that came around. We had people from the health sector, from the public sector, from finance, because from education as well. Why we brought people from these different sectors was because if you look at most of these problems that has to do with depression and suicide, it comes from different areas. From family, it comes from finance. When you are down with financial depression, definitely most times can lead to suicide. Once you are down, your family, you have different family issues, you can be down too with depression, and most times you can result to suicide. So we had speakers who spoke on different aspects, of this of suicide and depression, and we came up with a strategy which is known as RADP, RADP, which is research, awareness, documentary, and professional call lines. Those strategy we made use of. We started with research. We had research. We did research from different. We made use of this for our organization, Debt Consulting, which helped with the research as well. We did awareness, which is what we did last year, and we kept on doing it. We also made use of we did documentary. We had to interview people with depression, people who are going through different trauma as well, and we made use of professional call line, which we partnered with Money. So in case you have any problems on store, you contact them, because we had to get them our partners. This year we are also doing this project again. Because of the pandemic, we have to do it online. And after every of our events, there's always a campaign that follows. for these particular events, we have a campaign which is starting up tomorrow, probably tomorrow and next. And what do we target as? We target make a call. I'm sure that most of us, we have friends, we have relatives, we have people we haven't contacted in a long while. So we said, okay, yes, let's see if we can come up with an hashtag, which is make a call. So you can call people who haven't contacted in a long while. You call them, just check up on them. And most times this goes a long way, you know. So, from tomorrow and next, just basically tomorrow and next, we making do with the campaign. So as the year progresses, we have more, more campaigns and more projects on March. And World Suicide Day is in September. Suicide Prevention Day rather is in September. So we have other projects too. We have towards that. So I think basically this is what we have on ground for now. So we are here. We're going to listen to our speakers, and we hope we all have a very good time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the short welcome message and a brief about what we've done so far. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you. One of our speakers just told me we have people from Philippines. I can see them. You're all welcome. Madam Ruby, you're all welcome. I can see you all. Thank you for joining. So this is a platform where we believe as a youth, we are meant to help each other in our respective field. So thank you. I can see my friend from Kenya as well, Katili Mutuku, I can see you. And others across African countries. I can see my friend George Jiwa from Ghana, John Agwe from Ghana. Thank you for joining. So we don't want to waste much of our time because we understand time is of essence, time is money. So on this note, I will move down to, I'll be introducing the moderator because we already have most of our speakers on ground already. So others will be joining as time goes on. So on this note, I would like to introduce our moderator in person of Mrs. Ikimat Yusuf Salahuddin. Are you there, Mrs. Ikimat? I would have loved to read her profile, but her profile is just too much. Her profile is just too much for us to go through. And if we look at the time, we notice we spent nothing less than, we spent almost 20 minutes, and we intend to have this conference for just 2 hours. For just 2 hours, and we want that 2 hours to be very productive so that each and every one of us who left everything we're doing will be able to gain a lot. So Ms. Ikmat, are you there? Are you there, Mrs. Ikmat?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. So okay, the floor is on to you now.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Youth International Day Conference hosted by MAT in partnership with Hired Consult. And today we'll be having 4 fantastic speakers in our midst. They'll be talking about some very sensitive topics that would guide a lot of us in life. So I would implore us to listen and take something tangible home. So on my list, I have 4 speakers. I have Dr. Charles Ume, who will be talking on suicide and depression. Then I have Alima Durudin. She will be talking on sex and relationship. Then our 3rd speaker, Oluwatobi Raji, she'll be talking on rape. And our final speaker, Sahid Rotimi Olatunji, he will be talking on self-esteem. I would really find time to reach out to the youth via this platform. We are very grateful at MAT, and we appreciate your willingness to assist the youth. I don't know if I can go through their profile. At least you please just permit me for, you give me about 5 minutes. I want to share my screen so that we can read through their profile. It's going to be very fast. I'm not going to take so much time. So I will share my screen now so that you can go through our speaker's profile. Please give me just a few seconds to do this.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it says that all disabled attendee screen sharing. That means I can share my screen.
Okay, let me
Please,
allow
can the
you to.
host work on that, please? I can share my screen.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, I'm still waiting.
Have you been able to do that? Have you been able to share? I think if you can't share, you can just read a brief about it. You can just read. Ikmat, are you there? Hello, Ikmat.
No, we have at the end. We just go to the school and drop their box. Because time has gone.
Ikmat.
Just drop off. So that it will also save us
Are you there?
time.
I think you should just.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, the host muted everyone, so it affected me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if I can share the screen now.
I think you should just read and move on. Because we have.
Okay, let me just read and move on then. There's no time. Okay. Because I have to go to the. Okay. I'm sorry, please. I needed to get to where the profile.
Okay, while we are waiting for Ikmat, please, once you join, kindly just mute your mic so that we'll be able to hear the person speaking. Thank you.
Okay, please, can you hear me? Because everywhere is so quiet.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, Musa.
Yes.
Please, can you hear me?
I'm thinking that you coordinate with Madam Ikmat so that we can have a very smooth and flow of the conference. If her network is facing challenges, then you quickly step in to give her support so that she can also rest on us to make sure she has a successful session, and then we don't keep participants waiting. So let's coordinate on that. If the screen sharing is not working, you can simply read some of the highlights of the speakers, and then introduce the first speaker so that we do not wait.
Okay, please,
for
can
too
you
long.
hear me? Let me move on.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you.
Don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Mr. Musa, can you hear me?
I can hear you myself. So definitely others. Okay. Okay, on this note, if you can hear me or kindly drop a message in the chat
Okay,
box.
please, can you hear me now? Because I'm not hearing anything. I can't hear anything.
Hello, Madam Ekmat, can you hear us? Madam Ekmat, can you hear us? Okay, on this note, respected Musa, I think you should take over, mute Madam Ikmat, coordinate with her in the background to get her fixed whilst we move on with the session so that we do not keep participants and speakers waiting. So Musa, kindly
Okay,
introduce
so
the
I want
first
to assume
speaker.
that everybody can hear me. So I will just move on with okay, someone said I should exit and come online again. Let me try that.
Musa, kindly take over and introduce the event.
Let her just
so
exit and come back again.
Okay, yeah. Ikmat, once you
Let her exit and come back again.
Yes, I'm taking charge now. So sorry for the network issue. So on this note, I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Oluwatobi Raji. She is a gender violence-based advocate who focuses on child safety and has 5 years work experience in the humanitarian field. She founded Every Child Initiative, a nonprofit that educates the general public on preventive measures to child sexual abuse, rape on minor, using digital media and grassroots advocacy. Well, on this note, we will not be able to read much of her profile, but we would like to welcome her on board. She's here with us. Mrs. Oluwaraji, are you there? You need to unmute your mic. You need to unmute your mic. You need to unmute your mic.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. So you can go ahead. You're the first speaker.
Okay, yeah, good afternoon. Greetings from Nigeria and everyone watching. I am Oluwatobi Raji. Mr. Musa, I will find you. I am not Oluwaraji. I am Oluwatobi Raji. And I am a gender-based violence advocate with a focus on child safety. It's a privilege to be on board this afternoon. And I understand that we are in a world whereby every one of us has a duty to perform, a role to play to ensure our world is free from rape. You see, it's been a long while where we're dragging this, and then we have so many people awaiting the likes of me and you to take proper measure. And sincerely speaking, the effects of rape is not just only affecting the victims or survivors alone, but it has become a disease, and which has affected every human. Because if we look at it critically, if an individual is being sexually assaulted, do we think the effects come only on the survivor, or everyone around that? Because from going through therapy session, from going through psychological session, from going through healing processes, everyone must put their hands on deck. And that is why we have a responsibility as young leaders to ensure that this act is not just forbidden, but eliminated to the barest minimum. Okay, so I don't really need to start going around telling us the definition of rape and all of that, because I want to assume everybody knows what rape is. And then, but what we are looking at this afternoon is we are looking with how rape can affect can contribute to the factor of suicide, depression, and all of that. Yeah, as a person, I am a survivor, and my first encounter was when I was 8 years. I was sexually abused by my maternal uncle, who is my mother's brother, and then it lingers from age 8 to age 15. And you can imagine, even from age 13 to 19 years, growing up from being a child to a teenager, and to the youth, early youth, and I suffered and survived multiple counts of rape over 10 times by 10 different persons. So if you ask me, because nowadays you hear people say, oh, what did she wear? Where did she go? Or what were you doing there? You see, all these questions add more damage to the art of a survivor, because the first thing you should know is how to protect the child or the individual who has been assaulted, but not asking irrelevant questions. Because by the time we start asking questions that are insensitive, we do that fellow more harm than good. And that is why you see whereby a child who is being sexually molested would refuse to speak out. Would refuse to speak out to anyone, because at that point, the trust level has been damaged. That is one. Then two, speaking out, there have been the process of why did you go there, or what did you wear? So all this would contribute to the fact that a child or an adult who has been sexually molested will never speak out or confide in anyone. It takes an extra effort of a conscious adult to bring such fellow out of that state of self-blame. And then if we are talking about effects of rape, we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. I can remember vividly, when my own encounter happened, I didn't get help. It went on and on and on like that. And I was silent for 22 years of my life before I gained confidence and the ability to speak out in 2017. And you see, my encounter and experience gave birth the passion of advocating for child safety. And it's an intentional one. So it wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. Like I was saying, looking at the effect of rape, we talk about the PSTD, we talk about suicide. Sincerely speaking, I am a mental health survivor as well. And my encounter contributed to this effect. I never knew there was a place in me that depression was germinating, which later led to mental health. And then at a point, I felt I can't continue living, and it resulted to attempting to commit suicide. And as a child, I committed suicide over 5 times. And as an adult, I attempted suicide over 5 times. Attempted suicide over 5 times as a child and as an adult. strictly because one or two persons who I felt I could confide in that see what had happened. Instead, they took it upon themselves to tell me, oh, you are the cause of your predicament. You've got seductive body, and then the way you look at men at times is quite seductive. So therefore, every man will want to rape you. You are not disciplined, and then why should you, what were you doing there all alone with him? You see, all of these statements kept me back into my shell. And I decided I was going to keep to myself till I die. But in 2017, something changed my mentality and rotation of speaking out and breaking the silence. You see, that is why until we all stand to our feet to put a stop to this heinous crime, nothing will be done. Until if in every family, in every friendship, in every relationship, in every religious institution, either the mosque or the church, we are able to identify either a pedophile or an abuser, and we are able to speak out to relative bodies who will melt justice on them. And we don't just keep our mouth shut to say, oh, he's my best friend. I can't bear it, him going to the prison. Oh, he's my husband. I should blame my house help for seducing my husband. Or, oh, if I leave this man, who will marry me? But yet the man is perpetrating the acts and abusing the child. And you're saying, oh, I can't leave my marriage. Oh, I can't report him, because if I should report him, then this marriage is over. You see, until all these factors are being taken out of the way, because they are pure sentiments, and we stand by the truth. You see, we just keep shouting, stop rape, no to rape, this and that, and all of that. And every effort of numerous advocates out there fighting justice for this cause will just go down the drain. But we need our collective efforts. It is intentional. We need to be intentional about it. I survived. Can you count how many children or how many adults out there who are damaged? Can you tell me how many of them will survive like I have survived? Can you visit 10 psychiatric hospital or psychiatric home, and then tell me on a conscious note, interview 1 to 10 persons there, aside drug, interview them, and you will know that 80% of the female gender who are in the psychiatric home have been
yes, ma, you have 5
abused.
minutes more.
Okay. So that is to tell us that this is no longer an epidemic. To me, I see it as a pandemic. It is a pandemic. And a constructive and intentional approach to put an end to this. And that is why, even as young leaders, I don't know how MAD's initiative can do it, whereby they can have a stakeholder meeting with relative authorities, to discuss extensively on this issue. We have our security personnel, we have our law abiding personnel. We can speak to them. So let it not be that while the advocates are doing their own job, then every one of us are standing on our feet to ensure that our law is being regulated, sexual offenders to face the law. And also bearing it in mind that we have some certain persons who hold a big post in the government.
Ikmat. Is this Raja, are you there?
You're advocating for SDG 4, you're advocating for SDG 1, but the truth is, though we are different individuals, but we are preaching one message. Because rape is a great great tool used against peace. Because you can't tell me that if women are being sexually molested and there is peace in the land, there is no peace, no peace. So I want to appeal to everybody listening to me. For every child around you, for every adult around you, be conscious, be intentional, and ensure that we all create a safe space for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miss or Mrs. Olatunji. We really appreciate you, and we've learned a lot from what you've dished out to us today. We've learned that everybody should be responsible and do not ask rape victims insensitive questions. We should all stand up on our feet to stop rape in our society. We really appreciate you for this time out. It's really worth it. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you so much. If we have any question, please we send in our question. 2 minutes for questions, 2 minutes. If you have any question, you can.
We have a question already. Can I read it out? Yeah, Mrs.
Okay, please read it out. It's not very clear. How this suicide attempt, I think there's something missing there. Or how do you control suicide? I think that should be the question. How do you control suicide, and what are the signs that a person was abused and could lead to suicide? The question is very, very complicated. I don't know if our speaker understands that. Maybe the person should rephrase, if you can rephrase the question for better understanding. I guess that's the only question we have for now. But madam, you can still hang around in case we still have other questions for you. So next, I will be introducing Dr. Charles Ume. He's our next speaker, and he will be talking about suicide and depression. Please, you can take the floor, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dr. Charles Sume. I'm a doctor of medicine and physiology, and also a family physician. I'm going to be talking about the concept of depression and suicide, the risk factors, the symptoms and signs, and the management. So the term depression is a psychological and a psychiatric abnormality, which is characterized by changes in the behavior and the cognitive state of an individual. The symptoms usually range from feeling of worthlessness, changes in thought, such as suicidal thoughts, loss of physical activity, decrease in energy, changes in social behavior, and also withdrawal from usual activities. The person also experiences symptoms and signs towards religious belief and other beliefs such as culture. So there are many risk factors for depression. These factors such as family problem, sexual harassment, then unemployment, relationship issues, and some other factors. Some measures we can take to prevent depression can include and range from parental support for those that experience rape, support from our friends, from our schools, from our workplaces. Then when it comes to treatment and management of depression, I'm going to elucidate more on that session because in our society, lots of people normally experience difficulty in opening up about their depressive state because we usually have this habit of stigmatizing against people whenever we hear that they have one form of mental disorder or the other. But that shouldn't be the case. If somebody is depressed, depression is a mental health disorder according to the World Health Organization. So people with depression should be given adequate health attention, just like any other person with any kind of sickness. But depression is not as serious as most other psychiatric disorders because someone can be depressed for a long time and still come out of it and live a normal life. I mean, people have had several cases of suicidal attempts, and today they are living very healthy and even wealthy life. Okay, so when it comes to therapy for depression, there are three basic forms of therapy that can be adopted. The first is what we call behavioral activation. The individual is counseled by a health worker to adopt certain behaviors and also activate certain lifestyle in order to either forget the experience that led to his or her depression or to inculcate some aspects of social, psychological, and biological attitude which can erase or suppress the ecocentrism which initiated the initial depression. This is what we call behavioral activation. There are many ways of doing it. For instance, if a lady has been raped, when it comes to behavioral activation for someone like that, the person will be educated and made to understand that all men are not the same thing, and that there are other qualities which many other men have apart from the negative aspects, such as sexual assault. So the person is being told stories of people that have been in successful relationships and successful marriages. That indirectly encourages the individual to suppress that feeling of depression. Then the second form of therapy is what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. That is the commonest form of therapy that is given. In CBT, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, or the doctor encourages and educates the patient to change his or her ways of thinking towards certain aspects of life. This normally takes quite a period of time. It is commonly used for people that have long-term smoking habits or substance abuse, but it can also be adopted to people that have suffered one form of violence, such as rape or sexual assault. Then the final method of treatment for depression When these other two have failed, is use of medications. The commonest one we usually use are the tricyclic antidepressants and the sedative serotonin receptor inhibitors. Those drugs alter the chemical composition of an individual and changes the pathways of cognitivity, thereby biologically suppressing the feelings and emotions that induce the depression in the first place. Okay, so in conclusion, I'm going to say that depression is the commonest cause of suicide in individuals, and suicide is most common among people that are between 15 and 29 years old. According to WHO data, suicide is the second commonest cause of death among young people. So when somebody have depression, it's always advisable for the person to seek help on time, because the person in most instances is not usually aware of his or her symptoms and the progress of the symptomatology complex. And also, if we know someone or if we live around someone who we think or feel that he or she is suffering from depression, we can always talk to the person or link the person to a psychologist who can psychoanalyze the person and give the necessary therapy. These days, with the use of smartphones, laptops, and other technologies, someone can easily consult a psychotherapist online through WhatsApp or any other means and get effective therapy without necessarily visiting the hospitals. Then we also have NGOs, foundations, and movements like MADS, which also support people that are passing through depression. Thank you. So I'm open to a question from the audience.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Charles. We do appreciate your time spent with us. So far, you've been able to give us detailed on suicide and depression. You said it should be given adequate attention, unlike every other illness.
Just like
and then you also explained to us, yes, and then you also explained to us how we can suppress depression. We really appreciate your content. They're very rich, and as such, it will go a long way to help our youth.
Thank you.
Okay, there's no question on the chat. Yes, no question for now, but you can still hang around, sir. We might have questions later. So moving on to our next speaker, I would like to welcome Ms. Alima Nuruddin. She'll be talking about sex and relationship, another sensitive topic for the youth. Please, Mrs. Alima Nuruddin, you can take the floor. You can take the floor now.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much for
Good afternoon, madam.
You're
welcome.
Thank you. So I'll be talking about sex and relationship. I'm actually glad I've listened to the first two speakers because I'm going to look at sex and relationship from two different angles. I'm going to look at sex addiction, and I'm going to look at sex in line with relationship as general. So in dealing with people, you get to find out that some people actually have different kinds of addiction. And when we talk about mental health issues, addiction is actually one of the things that we look at. And sex addiction has actually come up to be one of the things that has actually been bothering a lot of people. But a lot of people haven't really had the opportunity, as our society does not actually give us the platform to talk about the issues of sex and sexuality. So it's something that a lot of people are suffering from, but have not been able to actually come out to air their views about it. So for sex addiction, I'm going to talk about 6 types of sex addiction. For the first one, we have something called the biological sex addict, okay? The biological sex addict is someone whose excessive masturbation or love for pornography view has actually hiked their sexual aura. For some reason, they find themselves always in need to satisfy that urge that is inside of them.
So for them, it's either they masturbate with or without a partner. They find the need to actually satisfy that particular thing that is inside of them. And then the second type of sex addict we're going to talk about is the psychological sex addict. The psychological sex addict actually it comes from maybe an abuse from childhood that had to do with some kind of sexual activity during their childhood. So it leaves them in that particular frame of mind. So the message, there's a message they have in a fantasy world, and the sex chemical cocktail that is being sent to their brain makes them a slave to this particular issue that they find themselves always in need to actually have sex. It's like somebody that's addicted to drugs. There's always that urge that comes up for you that at that particular point in time, you really just want to satisfy that particular need. So that's the same thing that happens to a psychological sex addict. And then the third one are actually something that's called a spiritual sex addict, okay? For sometimes, you know, there are lots of people that have a lot of faith in spirituality and spiritual leaders and things like that. So if, God forbid, somebody that is being molested by a spiritual leader, they have this thing in the back of their mind that it's for them to attain a level of spirituality. That is why that particular thing has happened to them. But in the course of their life, they come to find out that the void that they're trying to fill is actually still empty, but they have now become addicted to that frame of mind and that mindset, and they just have to go with the flow. And then we have the fourth, which is trauma-based sex addicts. Like the first speaker said, like going through any kind of sexual molestation, like let's say rape. A child was raped at a very tender age. Actually had a client one time who was raped at a very tender age. And the reason why she actually came to me was she was addicted to sex. And no matter what you want to do for her, she believes that there's a trade by barter that she can give you her body in return for whatever is it that you want to give her. She has now found a baseline that this is how she can actually get the things that she wants in life. So those are what the trauma do to them. So for people, for you to deal with that kind of a person, you have to actually heal the trauma first before you can actually heal the addiction that the person is going through. And for the fifth one, it's something called intimacy anorexia. Intimacy anorexia are those people that actually keep trying to recover from something, and then they find themselves relapsing into something else. So for somebody that is trying to recover from depression, and then maybe the person that's trying to help you, you find yourself sexually attracted to the person, and then you are trying to get over your depression or addiction, and then you're relapsing now into becoming a sex addict. And then we have something called mood disorder sex addict. There's some people that actually have mood disorders, and they have ways of dealing with their mood disorders. A lot of people go through different kind of therapy, but some people find out that the hormones that they actually secrete during sex actually help them to balance their their mood disorders. So those are the kind of people that we're actually talking about when we look at it from the addiction to sex aspect. And then now we're going to try to look at sex in line with relationship. In some relationship, you find out that the people that are involved in the relationship, the male and the female, for some reason, they actually believe that balancing the relationship, sex has to be involved. I actually try to encourage some parents to teach their children about sex, because you can find out that you're in a relationship whereby the guy might not be willing to have the sex, but the lady might persuade him, or the lady or the guy will persuade the lady to have the sex. And at the end of the day, the relationship falls apart, and you find out that one of the party or both parties actually going through some kind of mental health disorder or the other. The truth is, everybody has an opinion when it comes to sex and relationship. It's yes, no, and maybe. I might say it's a maybe, you might say it's a yes, and somebody might say it's a no. But you have a right to choose. Nobody can impose sex on you. When it's been imposed, it becomes rape. So you have to be able to understand that, okay, I'm ready to do this, or I'm not ready to do this, or yes, this is what I want to do, or this is what I don't want to do. And in relationships, the truth is, sex isn't necessary, okay? Many people just feel like it is necessary because of it's something that they just want to do at that time. But for a relationship to actually be successful, for a relationship to actually work, sex is not necessary. sex for some people is just a time pass. Okay, I see this girl, I like her, I start a relationship with her or him, and at the end of the day, I've gotten what I want and I move on. But the problem is we always forget the impact that our actions have on the other person. If I'm in a relationship now and I'm actually in it just to have sex with the person, and at the end of the day, I get what I want and I move on, but the person might actually be sincere about their feelings for me, but I'm actually not feeling that kind of feeling. I just wanted to get something out of that relationship. I might leave that person bruised, and maybe one way or the other, the person might form a mental health disorder, considering that the person might go ahead in life categorizing that all women are the same. This woman, this girl has actually done this to me and she dumped me. Can you imagine what happened to me? So it's all about the mind. It's all about how you actually see sex and how you see a relationship. A lot of people have had successful relationships without having sex until they got married. Some people have had sex from the first day they met until the day that they are still married right now. So the truth is, when you look at sex and you look at relationship, it goes through the focus of personal development. You have to know yourself, understand yourself, be able to decide, I want to do this at this particular time. I don't want to do this at this particular time. Okay, yes, this is I am physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ready to take the consequences of what would follow after I have done this. That is actually how I see sex and relationship. And most of my clients have actually been able to come and claim that, okay, I'm in love with this guy or I'm in love with this girl, and this is what is happening right now. He or she is threatening to dump me because of I refuse to have sex with the person. But when you actually have to sit to have a conversation with both of them, you get to find out that there's a gap of understanding and communication between the two of them. So one person actually just wants this and it's over for him or her, or the other person just feels like, okay, why are you trying to hide away from me? So when you understand each other, you understand yourself, and there's going to be a very, very good communication between the two of you. It's very beautiful. It can be important for some people to say that, yes, we must have sex because there's such a variety in our feelings about sex and our capacities for sexual attraction. You know, everybody has a way that they approach the issue of sex. And there are many reasons for this, why people might say that, okay, yes, they really want to do it. It could be an opportunity to bond with your partner. It could be an opportunity to show your partner love and affection. It might feel more secure in your relationship if you have sex with the person. For some people, there is the issue of self-esteem, whereby you feel like if you actually are able to have sex with that person, that is the only way that you can secure the relationship and things like that. It could simply be a pleasure, for pleasure and fun, whereby you just want to do it because of that, how you feel at the same time. And then for some people, it's like, okay, you feel like you are in love with this guy. It has been too long. The relationship has been going on and you want to use it as an opportunity. Okay, maybe if I get pregnant, we might end up together. Or maybe if something happens, this would go by. Or if I have sex with her, she will definitely be mine for the rest of her life, because of right now, she might not want to go on to other people. And there are a number of benefits that comes with regular sex activities, but I would actually say these are more for the married couples, because of you have to actually look at it very well. Is it something that you want to go into? When you start something, you have to be able to draw a line for it. For the married couples, they can say, okay, fantastic, we're going to have regular sex. But when you are not married and then you have to like move from one person to the other, or you have a girlfriend that might not be there for you at all time, you have to be very careful that you don't fall into any of the sex addict category, because these are things that people actually don't pay attention to. A lot of people do not think that sex is something that you can be addicted to. People just think it's pleasurable, it's fun, let's just do it and move on. But the truth is, as much as it's pleasurable, it's actually playing with your mind. And as long as it actually has an effect on your mind, trust me, you can be addicted to it. So I think for now, I would like to stop here and leave the floor for questions and comments. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alima Nuruddin. We do appreciate what you've given us today, sex and relationship.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were able to tell us about sex as addiction and sex in relationship. was really intriguing. You said you were able to link it to leading to suicide and depression, also with mental health issues. And you also made us understand that sex is not necessary in a relationship. I really wish that we could have more youth here to listen to that particular statement, which says that sex is not necessary in all relationships. Personal decision and development should determine that. Thank you very much, Ms. Alima. We do appreciate you, madam. In the absence of questions, probably to come at the end, I'm going to welcome another fantastic speaker for today, Mr. Rashid Rotimi Olatunji. He will be talking about self-esteem, another sensitive topic. So you can take the floor, Mr. Rashid Rotimi Olatunji.
Good afternoon from Nigeria and good evening in Asia there. I have friends from Philippines online. My name is Mr. Sahid Rotimi Olatunji. I'm a clinical psychologist and also a forensic psychology. I'll be talking on self-esteem. The theme is breaking silence. That means we are talking about speaking out on issue of rape. We have rape, depression, and suicide thoughts. These three are into levels. They are like a direction whereby the rape leads to depression and depression leads to suicide thoughts. When we talk about self-esteem, is a very important factor in mental health issues in the society. Rape victims are always stigmatized in our society. That is why they always have low self-esteem or no self-esteem. According to research, depression and helplessness leads to low self-esteem. All the speakers, they've already mentioned everything, both the biological and the physiological part of it. So what we need to do is to raise an awareness on the issue of rape. Self-esteem is very important. It's very important because the victims is always stigmatized in the environment, even by the family. Sometimes I have some clients whereby the parents, we ask them not to speak out. The religious leader, probably in the mosque or in the church, they'll ask them not to speak out. And this is going to lead to low self-esteem in the society. We have many ways of fixing this. We have different therapy that can be used to fix this. So it depends on the psychologist that will decide on what to use. Yeah. Also, issue of rape. I would like to make conclusion on everything they talk about. Issue of rape is not about issue of rape is not about the clothes the person is putting on. We have issues of, like the one that I call in Ibadan, we have issue of someone putting on a hijab and the person was raped. Also, we have issue of someone in the church and the person was raped. So it's not about the dressing or something, it's about the rapist itself, which is a mental health issue in the society. In future, I would love this to be a physical meeting whereby people can ask questions and we are going to have a large number of people, a large number of turnouts. Also, low self-esteem in the society leads to many things because of issue of rape. One is prostitution. I've seen some clients that issue of rape lead them to prostitution. Also, drug addicts, they try to forget the event because of the trauma, so they go into drugs. Also, issue of alcoholic and using of drugs, that also leads to that self-esteem and depression, because anybody that went through rape is going to get depressed, except there is support. Support can be from the society, support can be from the school, support can be from the government, and from the NGOs, and every individual in the society. We all have work to do. This is noticeable in our society and very observable. Check your neighbors, check your family, check your kids. Sometimes you just notice some changes. Try to ask them what is going on. Okay? In psychology, when someone is having an issue, you don't tell the person, oh, that is life, or move on. We don't use those words. We try to listen to the story. Speaking out, we make it very easy, and it's going to increase the self-esteem of the individual. Like yesterday, I had a client. It was an online client. The client is based in the Philippines. So she messaged me. She has a case of rape by the boyfriend. That was like 10 years ago, and they broke up already. But they reconnect like last week again, and the trauma is back because the guy came back. The trauma came back, and she messaged me on it. One thing is, we have to treat. An individual needs to meet a psychologist to fix him or herself. That is one thing. You can't move on into a relationship, or move on working, or move on with your life without fixing what happened. I have clients that was raped when they are very young, maybe when they are like 10 years old, and they still have effect now. They still have effect in their marriage. They're even married. And our society also stigmatizes this individual by making them look weaker. A practical example is the one we had some few months ago, whereby it was probably a church. I don't know about the story. I don't know if it is true or not, but I'm just making a kind of sample. The female should support each other on the issue of rape. The guys also should support on the issue of rape. Don't look down on someone. Don't look down on an individual. That is stigmatization already. We need to try to help an individual. If you notice the changes in a kid, try to consult, try to ask questions. Don't make it like, oh, I don't want the society to know what is going on. Probably an issue of the father raped the daughter, and it was kept indoor, it was kept in the house, and it's affecting my client. So I noticed that. So what we did was we have to introduce a family therapy. We have to call the mom and the dad and my clients. So that is one of the therapy that can be given to in such situation. Also, when we talk about us in relationship, if you are not fixing yourself, if an individual is not fixing himself or herself, rape can happen to the victim can be a boy or a girl. What we just need to do is just to support the victims, so they're able to speak out in the society. The government, has a large things to do on it. especially in Nigeria, we don't really have facilities to cater for this or support. Okay, like in the hospital, in a normal situation, if you are going to a hospital, okay, the first step is you are supposed to see a psychologist. After satisfied, you move to the medical doctor. But it's a different thing here. It's a different thing in Nigeria here. So we just need to reform how we do our things, how the religions try to fix that. When issue of rape, you don't have to bring the issue of rape to church, because it's going to lower this self-esteem of the victim or in the mosques. When the person is introduced to the society, the person is going to have low self-esteem or no self-esteem. That is that. So everybody keep it silent to them because of the stigma, and the stigma leads to low self-esteem. So what we just need to do is just to help them speak out. We don't need to hide anyone, even if it's the dad, because the end result is going to be very bad. Like I said, I have a client. My client is now 40 years old, and she was raped at the age of 10, and she's married now. But the husband is aware of all the situation. So we have to lead back to the dad, and they have to fix that, going through series of therapy. But it is kept within the family. One thing is, when someone is having depression, suicide thoughts, which is from rape, the first thing we have to do is to consult a psychologist to see what therapy can be used in such situation. We don't need to go into using of drugs, using of medicine. So we just, hello guys. Are you guys there? Okay.
Yes,
so
we can hear you.
Okay, so we need a lot of work to do. The parents need, one thing is we have to introduce sex education in our curriculum, especially in Nigeria. We have to start very early. Because when someone is saying no, no is no. You don't need to push through. Push it through is rape already. Like I said, the victim can be a male or a female. It's not only the female. I've seen a series research whereby guys who are raped, but they won't come out and tell you that, because the society will make them look very weak. And if they're coming out, they're going to be having a kind of low self-esteem. The same thing is applicable to mental health issue also. You can't see someone walking to a psychologist because the person will be scared of labeling that, oh, the person is sick or the person is having an issue. That is how the culture was planned. So also the NGOs need work to do. You have to probably go around the schools, because we have to start very early. Some of these students are having a bad result because they're having low self-esteem because of what happened in the past. In some country, when they notice you're having low scores in low scores, they have to invite you to see a counselor to see what is going on. In a normal condition, you're supposed to work perfectly, have a very good result. But when you're not having it, you just need to see probably a counselor in the school, or if there's a school psychologist, you can see psychologists. Most of these kids or students are having issues back home from their brother, from their uncle, from neighbors, which is going to make them to have a low self-esteem, which is going to affect the result in school. So it's a very complicated issue which needs to be solved because they are both interwoven together. Issue of mental health in the society at large, not only in Nigeria, And the psychologists, the counselors, and the medical doctors also have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work to do. Everything is not about money. Everything is not about money. I've seen some clients, they don't have cash. They don't have cash to be able to do consultation. We just need to help on what we can do. We need to help on what we can.
Yes, sir. 2 minutes more, sir.
Okay. We need to help them out. Since I got back home in Nigeria, I have many clients. Like you're supposed to pay for consultation, but they don't have cash. So sometimes after listening to the story, you just have to help because it's affecting many issues. Some relationship issue is affecting their job, is affecting many things, mental health. I've seen a client that she was raped and she's married. She never enjoyed sex in her life because of the trauma. And the effect is low self-esteem at work, even to the husband. So we have many cases in Nigeria. According to the research, 6 out of 10 have such issue. 6 out of 10. Rape, sexual molestation, and others is very common in the society. But the family, the parent, or the society keep it under the carpet so that they won't label the society or the community. But the repercussion is going to be low self-esteem or no at all. So we need to work more on fixing this. I believe we can have more physical meeting whereby we can talk a lot about this. Thank you so much. Hello.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just unmuted myself. I've been talking. You helped us to touch every part of the topics for today. You were able to talk about rape. You were able to talk about suicide and depression, as well as relationships. So it's like you touched every aspect of the topic, and it was really, really fantastic. You made us understand that self-esteem has to do with breaking the silence, and you told us that women should support women when it comes to rape, the men should also support men when it comes to rape. And you also made us know that we need to reform the way we do things and do not enclose the identity of rapists irrespective of their relationship with you. So we really appreciate what you've dished out for us today, self-esteem. Really appreciate it. So we're waiting for questions. If you have questions to ask, you can raise your hand. Then we also have questions sent via chat. We'll be reading some of them out, but we need to know who the question is directed to. Let me go through the first one. Okay, the first one was sent by myself, and it says that there are actually some ladies who got themselves raped through mode of dressing and indirectly showing consent. What do we say about this? This question is directed to Mr. Said.
Okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Like I said, the issue of when someone is saying no, the person is saying no, irrespective of what the person is putting on. Like the example I made, I made an example of someone in Ibadan that was putting on hijab, and hijabian sister that is fully covered. The person was raped. So it's not about dressing. Even if I'm walking naked, and I'm saying no, my no is still no. You don't have the power to do such. So it's not about dressing. When someone is saying no, that is no. The no is not.
But
is not.
can dressing also can it also kind of intrigue rape? As in the way you dress, can it how will I use this English? Can it intrigue it? Can it make someone to attempt rape?
Yes and no. Okay. Yes. If the person is the body is shown, it can trigger the rapist. It can trigger, and the issue of no is the issue of the lady using of hijab. She's putting in hijab. She's fully covered. The body is not shown.
Okay.
And also, the environment made it look like that. The environment make it look. But when you go to some places, their shot is very, like in the Philippines. I did my master in the Philippines. Their shot is very small, and nobody even look at them like, oh, what's she putting on? But our environment make it look like that. Like if a female is walking around and they are spanking her. They are spanking her because she's putting on a very short thing. It's a very bad something. We need to change that. You can dress anyhow you want. It's your body. You own the body. You can say no and you can say yes. So we need to fix the society. The problem is the rapist itself. The rapist is the one that problems, having mental issues. So it's not the victim. The problem is the rapist itself. So that is it. Thank you.
Okay, so in a nutshell, mode of dressing cannot trigger rape. It has to do with the raper himself, the mental health of the raper.
Yeah.
Or
yes.
the rapist.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, so we'll take. Okay, someone wants what? Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Okay, please speak on.
Mr. Said, I don't know. The topic you're talking about, self-esteem in relation to depression. What about people that have actually not experienced rape or have actually not been been abused in a relationship, but have low self-esteem and are depressed because of other reasons? In what way would you advise that such depression is tackled?
Thanks for the question. We all have low self-esteem, but it depends on the environment, on the situation. Like if you're not very good in a particular topic in the class, you are going to possess a low self-esteem for that particular course. On a neutral ground, if someone is having low self-esteem, the best thing is the person should see a psychologist. So from there, we are going to find out what leads to that. Probably it might be from the childhood. It might be sometimes if the parents are fighting, they're always fighting, it might affect the kid. And we have many factors. Probably bullying. When bullying also can lead to low self-esteem. When they bully someone, the person is going to possess low self-esteem, which might affect many things. Relationship, at work. It's not only about rape. Other things might lead to low self-esteem. Like what I said, like the parents are fighting, or if sometimes low self-esteem on a female can be from the individual. Like a lady believe in herself that she's ugly. When you believe you're ugly, you're going to possess low self-esteem. That is one thing. When you try to portray yourself like you try to portray yourself to be ugly, the person is going to have low self esteem. But when you believe I can do anything, you are confident of anything or anywhere you are, you're going to have high self-esteem. But when you're not confident, when you're a bit bullied, someone might have low self-esteem. Hope I'm able to tackle that question.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. So there's a question for Miss Alima. She's still online, so we'd like you to answer this for us. The person wrote that most of the youth suffer from relationship problems. How and what can be done to strengthen the youth in order to fight or survive depressions that comes with relationships?
Okay, that's a very tricky question because everybody has their own threshold on how they can deal with issues that face them. But one thing I can say for sure is that whatever the situation or the circumstance comes around us is, it depends on how developed you are personally, mentally, physically, and emotionally to understand that situation, for you to be able to interact with the situation and make meaning of the situation. You have to be able to know that, okay, things in life, people live, people die, relationship comes, relationships end. You have to be able to know that, okay, this did not work out for us. Just that some of us have this ability of beating ourselves up over a relationship that did not work out. We like to wallow in self-pity. We like to blame ourselves a lot for relationships that do not work out. And there is no way you would wallow in self-pity without it leading you to being depressed. Because self-pity itself, it has an underlying depression. So the more you are actually about blaming something or somebody on it, definitely you would find yourself in depression. But if you are able to put that situation into a corner, understand that, okay, this has happened. Maybe I have made this mistake, and I have learned from my mistakes, and I'm going to pick up from where I'm going to made in the past. Now I have understood what I should and what I shouldn't do. I'm going to now develop myself. I'm going to improve on myself. I'm going to understand myself better. I'm going to be more empathic towards how I deal with people, my interaction levels, and all of those things. And you're able to put a focus for yourself. It will reduce the rate of depression. As I said from the beginning, a lot of these things that we talk about, it mostly borders on how personally developed we are individually. Our level of understanding, our level of communication, our language, our body language, all of these things come to play when we talk about mental health issue. So we have to be able to know ourselves before you can even talk about knowing or understanding someone else. That's just it.
Thank you very much, madam. There's another question here for you. Again, it says, how do we change the wrong perspective of sex in relationship?
So I don't think sex in relationship is a wrong perspective. As I said in the beginning, it depends on who is talking about it. It depends on who you are in a relationship with. I don't want to have sex right now, and I would not put myself in a position to be in a relationship whereby my boyfriend or my fiance would want to push me into doing something that I am not ready for or I don't want to do. It still goes back to you being personally developed. We have to understand ourselves. I have to be able to say, yes, I want to have sex with you before we can go ahead to do it. We both, because sex is not just about the physical, it's about the emotional, it's about the spiritual, it's about the psychological, okay? You can have sex with somebody and you move on with your life and you feel like it's all good. But what about the mindset of that person after you have departed? You have enjoyed your own and the person has gone and everybody has gone their own way, but you have probably left that person, in a situation or in a mindset whereby they might have trust issues. So the perspective right now, we might maybe say, okay, let's talk about curriculums in school about sex. Let's try as much as we can to have a bit more open discussions with relationships, sex. I am from the North, and I know it's very difficult to have topics or discussions around sex. It's like a taboo for you to even talk about it, like say, okay, I want to do this, or I don't want to do that, or my husband this, or my boyfriend that. So these are kind of issues that actually compound to the issue that you see some people having sexual urges, but they don't know how to go about it, and they end up raping somebody. So whether we like it or not, we have to encourage discussions around these things for us to be able to reduce the level and the high rise of mental health and suicide around us in our society. That's just it.
Thank you so much, madam. You are really loaded and ready.
Thank you very much.
Well done, well done.
Thanks.
So we have another question for Dr. Charles, and the question goes this way. Depression is caused by several factors, which can be best practices to inform people, most especially the youth who are victims, to stay away.
Okay.
Dr. Charles. Okay, sir.
Okay, so like I said before, victims of depression should be adequately counseled. Most times, people that are depressed don't really know that they are depressed. I mean, they're not aware of what they do. Most of them take those drugs in order to suppress the symptoms of depression that they have, and also to suppress their personal ego too, and forget about their worries. So I think it's our duty as youth and individuals to discover people around us that potentially have depression. When we do so, we can be able to introduce them to psychotherapists, psychologists, and other form of help that they can get. Then another thing is, when people have depression, it's usually advised for them to try and join social support networks and groups where their issues can be discussed, and where they can also discuss with people that have similar issues that they have, and also get the necessary support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Well detailed and explanatory. Thank you so much. Please, do we have any more questions in the house, apart from the text message? Any more questions? If you want to talk, you can unmute and ask you. Want to ask? Okay, so I would assume we do not have any questions. So I'm going to appreciate
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?